Hello everyone and welcome to another C tutorial. Today we'll be discussing about the different kinds of loops there are in C. Now what does loop do? Loops are used when we want to execute a statement or execute a task more than once. For example, if we do not use loops and we want to print out the number of lines, we will be using the printf statement more than once. For example, if you want to print line numbers, we will do something like this is line number 1, and then we will be repeating our printf statement for the next lines. This is line number 2, line number 3, line number 4. So this may make our program very messy and the code can be very messy as well. So to solve this, we use loops. Now in C there are three kinds of loops: while loop, for loop, and a do while loop. Let's look at a while loop first. For example, let's take an example of printing the number of lines as I described earlier. So in a while loop, our variable is always declared and initialized first, and then we initialize our for loop, while loop, while, and then we will have a condition here: counter less than equal to 3, or let's make this less than equal to 4, and then we will have our executing statement over here: printf this is line number %d, and here we will put the value of counter. Now let's try and see if it runs successfully. We'll copy our code from here. Let's start a new empty file, and let's name this loops. We'll include our header file again, stdio.h, int main. One more thing: after our first execution, we will increase the counter with an increment statement, as I described in my previous lesson. Counter plus plus. At every loop, after the one statement executes, it will increase the counter and it will check for the condition again. So let's try running our program and see if it runs successfully. As you can see here, we have 4 lines: line number 1, line number 2, line number 3, and line number 4. Now what what does this mean? In counter, first we declared the variable counter equals to 1, and then we initialized our loop. So at first it will check for the condition counter less than equal to 4. So the counter checks for the condition. So the counter less than equals to 4 for now is true, so it printed the line number 1, and then it increased the counter by 1, so now the value of counter is 2. Then it checked the condition again, the value is still true. Till 4 it will check the condition, but as soon as the value of counter becomes 5, this condition will be false, so it won't print any further lines. Now let's try this using a for loop. Now what does a for loop do? What is the difference between a for loop and a while loop? In a for loop, all our 3 conditions will be together. Like, we will initialize our variable but not declare it. We will declare our variable but not initialize it. Initializing means when we assign a value to a variable. So we will initialize the variable inside our condition: counter equals to 1. Then we will have till when the counter should run, counter less than equal to 4, and then finally we will increment our counter at every loop: counter plus plus. And then we will have the same printf statement that we had here. Let's try and run this now. counter, or let's have both loops here. I will change the name of this to counter2 so that we can have test out both loops. Counter2, counter2, and finally counter2. Now as you can see, wait, sorry, I made a mistake. I forgot the \n here. Now as you can see, for the first while loop, it printed 1 2 3 4 and then 5 5 5. What did I do wrong here? Yes, another mistake that I did was counter2. Sorry about that again, and let's run this again. Yes, so our while loop prints prints the value of counter successfully 1 2 3 4. Then our for loop also prints the value of counter2 successfully. So what did this for loop do? For loop declared, now this statement will only run once and not twice. So at first it initialized the variable counter2 equals to 1, then it checked for the condition, and then finally if at first it will increase the it will print the print the value of counter, then it will go and it will increase the value of counter, and then it will check for the condition, and then it will execute the statement till it reaches 5. Now our last loop is a do while loop. Now in a do while loop, what we do is a do while. Now what's the difference between a do while and a while loop? A do while loop will always run once, and a while loop may never run. For example, let's look at a typical example of a do while loop. In a do while loop, our executing statement comes first and our condition comes later on. So whereas in a while loop, our condition comes first and our executing statements comes later. Hence the while loop may never run depending on the condition, but a do while loop will always run once even if the condition is false. Now for example, if our value of counter is 5 and we specify our condition counter less than equal to 4, now even even if our condition is false, the executing statement is first, so our program will still execute once. But in a while loop, since our condition is before the executing statement, our program may never run because the condition is being false at once only. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope you have learned a lot through these lessons. Make sure to subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video. Thank you.